Hello, dear students. Welcome back to our news channel. Students, today we are going to talk about two news articles. The first article takes us through the courtrooms of India, where we will discover how judges stay accountable and why the constitution is like a rule book for everyone, even the president. Okay, and our second journey takes us inside your body, where we'll meet white blood cells, chemical messengers, and find out why you feel hot and shaky when you are sick. Okay, so grab your water bottle and find a cozy corner. Let's dive right in. All right, now, students, imagine you are in school and the class monitor suddenly starts acting like the principal. Now, what the monitor is doing, basically telling people what to do, skipping the rules, maybe even changing test marks. Wouldn't that be unfair, right? So, in a country, this kind of unfair behavior by powerful people is exactly what the constitution prevents. Okay, so constitution prevents this kind of unfair behavior, and the people who make sure that everyone follows the rules, including ministers and even the president, are our judges. Okay, so our judges ensures that everyone is responsible. So, what if a judge misuse power? Who keeps them in check? Okay, so recently, like India's Vice President, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar, he made the comment that created a lot of buzz. Okay, so he used super parliament. He said super parliament, and don't worry, that's not a thing. But this statement actually worried people, made people worry. Okay, see, students. First, the constitution. When we say constitution, it's like a what? It's like a rule book of India. It says what the parliament can do and what the parliament can't do, right? And what the president can do, and yes, what the judiciary can do. Now, the judges are given powers by this constitution. They can interpret laws, protect citizens, and stop unfair decisions made by the government. But they cannot make laws. Okay, that's the job of parliament. So if a judge goes beyond this, it's called violating the constitution. Right? And here's the important part. If a judge crosses that line, he or she can be removed. And this process is called impeachment. Okay, impeachment. And parliament has the power to do that. Now there is something called checks and balances. Checks and balances. Okay, so this system is called separation of powers. Parliament make the laws, government or executive implements it, and the judiciary checks if the law is being followed, right? Or if the laws are being made according to the provisions of the constitution. So, like a tripod that stands only when all three legs do their part, so checks and balance and ensure that each part of the government is working properly. So, no one, not even judges, can act like kings or queens, and definitely not the phrase that was being used for them. So let's talk about what started all this. See, sometimes after parliament or a state legislature passes a law, it needs to be signed by the president or a governor to become official. But what happens when they delay the signing for days, weeks, or even months? The Supreme Court said this delay is unfair and you can't just hold back laws that have been passed properly. So the court suggested that a time limit be set. Okay, that there should be a time limit, right? तो ये कहा गया था. And here's this twist. Setting a tight deadline uh, it was basically to respect the will of the people who elected their lawmakers, right? So, this is all about the controversy that was going on. And Vice President also said that judges are bound by the Constitution just like everyone else. So, if they misuse their powers, they can also be removed, right? So, lastly, our constitution gives judges the power to review actions of the government, not to dominate, but basically to protect our rights. For example, if a new law says that students must study 15 hours a day without break, then the court could step in and say, hey, that's unfair, right? So, that is what we call judicial review, okay? Judicial review. And it keeps our democracy alive, okay? Now students, ये तो बात होगी checks and balance की और कैसे each and every organ of the government how they are working, right? Now students, let's travel into your body, okay? Because we are about to find out something that uh, really cool about fevers. Yes, students, have you ever felt hot, shivery and weak when you are sick? Of course. Yes, we all have felt that, right? See, students, that's our body turning up the heat. But why? Because of the fever. Okay. So let's explore how fever is actually our friend. Okay. Fever is actually our friend. Students, imagine harmful bacteria or viruses, they sneak into our body. But what happens? But what actually happens? See, when these harmful bacteria or viruses they seek into our body, basically our immune system, which is our body's army, they spots the invader. Okay, they spots the invader, and one type of soldier called white blood cell. Okay, they are called white blood cell, and um, and they sends out chemical messenger called cytokines. Okay, cytokines. So these messenger says, code red, we've got trouble. And two very special cytokines. These two very special cytokines, basically interleukin 1 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, they take charge. Okay. And these cytokines, they send signal to our brain, especially a part called hypothalamus. Okay, those they send signal to a part of the brain called hypothalamus. That's you can compare it with thermostat. Okay, so then another chemical gets involved and it tells the brain time to raise the temperature, and the brain agrees, and boom, you start feeling feverish. Okay, so heating up the defense, basically how does our body heat up? Yes, we start shivering, muscles move rapidly, it creates warmth, and our metabolism speeds up. Our body burns more energy, making heat. So it's like our body switches to, battle mode, right? And high temperature actually make it harder for bacteria to grow. So our immune system gets stronger and faster at attacking. So even though fever feels awful, it's actually our body working overtime to save us, right? So should you stop a fever? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. See, if the fever is very high, of course you should take medicine and see a doctor. But sometimes a mild fever, it's actually a helpful signal that our immune system is working well. Okay, so that's why doctors often say, let the fever do its job unless it gets too hot. Meaning कि हाँ ठीक है, अभी fever को अगर mild है तो यानी कि our immune system is working. Okay, so क्या होता है सबसे पहले? Invader when it attacks our body, सब उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि our immune system detects it, and then there's a two types of cytokine called interleukin 1 and tumor necrosis. These cytokine cause an increase in our body temperature. right? So ये तो बात हो गई fever की, right? Okay, so students, remember this. Our body doesn't just sit back and suffer when our body is sick. It plans, it fights, it adjusts. And fever is one of its cleverest tools. So, again, we need to remember uh, the famous phrase what Winnie the Pooh said, that you are stronger than you think. Right? Okay, students, so that's all for today. We learned about two things. One is the judiciary protecting democracy and fairness in society, and the other is fever protecting ourselves from invaders inside our body. Both are powerful, both work best within limits, and both reminds us that systems, whether legal or biological, they have rules for a reason. Okay. So that's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend who's ever had a fever or a question about our codes. Okay. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep that brain warm, just not too warm. Okay. Bye bye.